guys, welcome back to another episode of The Sunny Side.
Mm-hmm.
We are here. It is beautiful outside. It is sunny.
It is sunny.
And so we're ready for this episode. And we have another incredible guest today. So we're super excited to have Erica join us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
And I'm going to let Pam introduce her.
Okay. Yes. So Erica has a lot to share. You've lived a very interesting life. And so we're excited to have you on the podcast and be able to share a little bit about your story. And there's just people that you run into in your life. You're like, I would love to just chat and have a conversation with them because I think they have like fascinating things to share. So when we were thinking of people for this podcast, I thought of you. And I was saying that to Liam, like, we should ask Erica. I bet she'd be like a great guest.
So you've been saying it from day one, day
dot. So thanks for making time and coming and chatting with us.
It's great.
I mean, I think especially anyone who's local that listens to this, a lot of people probably will know you, or they think they know you, or they know of you.
Yeah.
Because I
really?
feel like I just feel like you're a person that's very like bubbly and friendly, and so a lot of people know you in the Niagara area, in the community.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but for everyone else, like, tell us about Erica. Who's Erica? Tell us, like, go back to little baby.
Okay,
little
the
baby
beginning.
Erica.
Little baby Erica.
Tell us.
The beginning. So our family story is really interesting because I was born in San Francisco, and my mother was born in China. Okay. And my mother and her twin brother both escaped communist China when they were very young. So my Uncle Jimmy escaped when he was 12 years old by himself.
Wow.
And he worked his way through a garment factory and went on to become one of the most successful men in Hong Kong.
So hold on 1 second. Hold on.
Wait.
So how does a 12-year-old escape communist China? What does that look like?
Well, it's somebody smuggling him out.
Okay.
Yeah, and bringing him to Hong Kong. And then my mother escaped when she was 16. She was what they call a freedom swimmer. So she swam the channel between China and Hong Kong. That's a 36-hour swim in shark-infested waters. So she's what they call a freedom swimmer.
Stop.
Yeah, and then so she swam her way to freedom.
Like stopping along the way, not 36 hours straight.
36 hours straight.
Well, you can't stop. Where would you stop?
You can't stop. There's no hotels on the way.
Well, I meant
She's scrambled for the rest station.
I didn't mean like a hotel, but I meant like, is she swimming like, is it like a kind of along a shore where you can like stop and like
it's swimming
the trees?
No, it's swimming, and her
how do you survive that?
Her and her friend escaped, and they for the sheer will of wanting freedom. Wow. And so and her friend actually passed out at some point, and my mom had to carry her. We even saw that friend into my adulthood. She would come and visit us, but so they both escaped for freedom. And then my mom made it to the States. She had my sister in Hong Kong, who was 7 years older than me. And then she made it to the States, where she lived with my Auntie Kitty and Uncle George, who aren't actually my Auntie Kitty and Uncle George, just best friends.
Yeah.
And that's where she had me. So I was born in San Francisco. Wow. And then from San Francisco, we moved right away to Ghana, where my father was. But then my mother and father split.
Okay.
So I don't remember my father, but while we were in Ghana, my mother met someone who sponsored her and her children to come to Canada. And he was from Niagara Falls. So that's how we ended up in the Niagara region. And I immigrated to Canada when I was 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we were 3, we immigrated to Niagara Falls. And my mom started working at front desk at like the Sheraton Hotel. Okay. And she really realized she loved hospitality. And my mom was such a hard worker and just a single mom, 2 kids, didn't speak English. And actually everyone always asks why my sister and I didn't speak Chinese. But we didn't speak Chinese. Plus, in the 80s, it was a time where teachers would say, like, stop speaking that language to your kids.
Right.
And, it wasn't the way it is now. And plus, she wanted to learn English from us because when you're 3, you learn English in 5 minutes.
Yes.
So she learned English from us as well.
Wow.
So so then we were in Niagara Falls, and my mom worked really hard, and then she bought a motel. She bought a 10, 12 bedroom motel. And then a souvenir stop, and we had the classic immigrant story, like every free minute that we were not at school,
You're working.
we were working. And I mean every free minute we were working.
There's no like playing and relaxing in the yard.
Like you played at work.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was my core memory of my childhood. Just all my free time was at the souvenir store, at the motel. Like I was 5 years old. My sister and I, she would do the laundry. I'd scrub toilets. I'd, clean this. I was doing laundry in the basement with her when I was 6, 7 and folding the sheets. And then we'd go to the souvenir store and fold t-shirts all day. And when you don't know otherwise, and she was a single mom, it's not like daycare.
Yeah.
But it really fostered a love for school, because school was the time when I didn't have to work.
Right.
And so I really loved school. And I loved everything about school. And then as I got older, she sent me to summer camp, which was incredible. And yeah, so it was, it was a bit of a crazy upbringing. My mom was a workaholic in the truest sense, in that she genuinely only wanted to work. And I wasn't even sure that she enjoyed having children, because she kind of came from communist China, where, at that time, men were valued infinitely more than women.
Right.
And back in the single child days, people would abort if they found out they were having a girl,
Yes.
or give it up for adoption,
Adoption,
because they needed to have a boy. So, and she had this incredibly successful twin brother in Hong Kong, whose shadow she kind of lived under. And my Uncle Jimmy's amazing, and we spent a lot of time with him in our youth. He's an incredible man. But, I think, and then she had 2 daughters and she had no sons. And so that was even worse.
Yeah.
And, and she talked about that quite openly.
like kind of like, I wish I had sons.
Well, I wish that, if I was a man, I would actually I wouldn't be stuck with children to work.
Right.
I mean, which is sort of true.
Yeah.
Her ex-husband went on working and wasn't stuck with the children.
Right.
Because, as we know, when that happens, the children stay with mom 99% of the time. So that was our upbringing. And then my mother did really well with the souvenir store and motel. She worked so hard.
Wow.
And but there were times where we slept in the motel room and we lived out of a rice cooker. Like it was interesting. It was different from a lot of my peers' upbringings.
Right.
And my friends who would do Girl Scouts and play soccer and do these things, and I would just dream of being able to. I dreamt when we had school days and people, remember, you got to wear a uniform if you wanted to, and they showed up in their brownies and Girl Guides outfits with all those pins. And I was so...
And you had the hotel uniform on.
And I was
the
I was like, what is it you guys get to do? You get to learn how to craft and sew and... at the time.
Yes.
So you're seeing another way that people it's not your reality.
Well, the Canadian way. The Canadian way. And anyways, but then, then my mom moved us to Niagara on the Lake when I was about 9. And my mom saw something in Niagara on the Lake that was really ahead of her time.
Because it wasn't the Niagara on the Lake that we know now, back then.
Well, it was.
Developed.
It was. The Shaw Festival was still there.
Okay.
There was the few formative wineries, in Enniskillen and Consulman, the early ones. And, there were hotels. But at the time, most of them were, going into bankruptcy or receivership. And so, my mom talked to her brother and said, I see this potential in this town. And then our lives completely changed when I was in grade 8, about to go into grade 9. And she said, our families, we're going to buy these hotels. And we're going to transform them. And it started with the Pillar and Post, then Queen's Landing, then the Prince of Wales, and the Oban Inn, and my mom started the Vintage brand.
Wow. Your mom bought all of them?
Yeah. Well, my uncle did, and then my mother, it was we called it the do and the dough. But my mother's the one who did all the renovation, all the branding.
Wow.
She's the one who brought them all to 4 diamond status. And
I didn't realize that.
It was amazing. It was an amazing time in our life. And we did a lot of traveling. So suddenly we went from this very very working class family, and now we were running like luxury hotels, and my sister and I then worked in the hotels all the time. My sister went on to go to the best hospitality school in the world in Switzerland.
I had a friend, the one that I was just telling you about, the Spanish friend.
Yeah,
she went there.
Yeah, EHL. It's the oldest hospitality school in the world, and Celia went there. And so, we always, hospitality was in our blood, and then this just took it to another level. Wow. So that was our life. And so suddenly we went from just very working class to, we were still working so hard, but it was suddenly we were, in this kind of life of more luxury.
Yeah, you went from sleeping in little motels.
Yes.
To, doing laundry and bed sheets from a young age to...
Yes.
And did your mom, you got rid of the hotel in Niagara Falls?
Yeah,
and the
motel in Niagara Falls.
Sold that.
Yes.
Went to, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
she sold that, and but my mom, she taught us a lot. We're not emotionally close, my mother and I. It's hard to be with a workaholic parent, and when you're young, you resent that a bit, especially when you see your friends, and they're baking with their moms or whatever people do with their moms, and and I was not doing that, and because I didn't have a dad either, but I had a wonderful stepfather who was with my mom. They never married, but I call him my stepfather from when I was 5 to 12.
Okay.
And he really shaped my life.
Wow.
In a different way that my sister didn't have, because she was already 12 at the time he came into the picture. And my stepfather brought a whole element to my life that really, really changed me as a person.
Wow. Just that emotional side, kind of the love and connection.
Yeah, a lot of love. He had a really loving family. And he's Jewish, and so I got to participate in all their family holidays, and I learned about different, religion and different culture. But he would take me to Blue Jays games and to the ballet, and he would, be like, "Let's go for a donut. Don't tell your mom." He gave me more of a Canadian experience.
Okay.
And
was he Canadian?
Yeah, born in Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah, born in Montreal. So he really shaped me a lot, and he softened my childhood. My mother was a very hard mother, and I mean that in almost every respect. She wasn't, there wasn't hugging and tenderness, which is fine. In retrospect, that was how she mothered.
Yeah.
And she had to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And but obviously as a kid, it was something I wanted.
Yeah.
And my stepdad did fill that gap.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm still very close with him.
That's beautiful.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice.
I love that.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So so that was kind of our upbringing, and then but with all my mom's hard work, I was really fortunate to be able to travel a lot once we got older and go to really good schools, and so
you kept working in the hotels alongside your mom and sister.
Yeah, always.
And then did you go off to school somewhere? Your sister went off to Switzerland. What did you end up doing?
So for high school, I went to Ridley College, and I loved it. I loved Ridley. And then, but then I got pregnant as soon as high school was done. I got pregnant. No, that's not true. I graduated high school. I did a 1-year international management program at Walt Disney World. Sorry, 9 months. But that got slightly cut short because I found out I was pregnant. Okay. Yeah, with the guy who I was dating at the time, who would then become my ex-husband. My husband, then ex-husband. But I got pregnant. So, and I planned to go to university. I did really well in school. I planned to go to university. But obviously, that's hard to do when you have a baby.
Yeah. New plan.
Yeah.
So you end up pregnant, and where does that lead you? Where are you?
So I moved home, and from Florida, I moved home, and I go back to working at the hotels, which is such a blessing, actually, which you don't understand when you're young, but it's a real blessing to have family business. To kind of always fall back on. When you mess up.
And how did your mom take that? I'm assuming, because if she also was kids are kind of a more make a burden mentality, maybe she has all these expectations for you. Was she kind of Erica, now you have kids, it's going to slow down your whatever she wanted?
Yes, good question. My mom actually was not happy that I was pregnant. you know, at the time I was 19. I was 20 by the time I had my son. So I escaped formal teenage pregnancy.
Right.
But she was not happy.
Right.
And she actually found avenues for like adoption and stuff. But I said I wanted to keep the baby. And I said I wanted to keep the baby. And of course, that's a decision I don't regret. And so Ethan's father and I moved in together. And
so he moved from Florida, or
no,
like
he was from Niagara Falls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were lucky though because my mom like had a house for us. You know, my mom did a lot of real estate stuff, and so my mom just made really good decisions all the time, and she understood the value in real estate early into her immigration. Because don't forget, coming from communist China, you were never allowed to own property. So this dream of being able to own property, and
such
then,
an accomplishment.
my mom's biggest financial success is her stuff in real estate. Like she's so smart in the way that she made real estate decisions. So we moved into one of those houses, and then we had Ethan, and then right after Ethan was born, a little bit after we were married, and then right after we got married, we had Brianna.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm just 23.
Okay.
2 little kids, new
Two
husband.
little kids.
Yeah.
And not even living like a realistic life really, because the house was taken care of.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, obviously we both worked, but it was actually, that's not true. I was a stay-at-home mom. My ex-husband worked. But it was not, you know, looking back on it, I was like, oh, we were really taken care of. Yeah, it was a huge position.
Was it like as maybe as hard as it could have been in a different situation?
Totally, because even when people talk about getting pregnant so young and derailing your plans, and I said, you know, my experience is not normal.
Right.
Because even though my mother was not emotionally supportive,
She was,
and I don't think she has the tools for that.
Right.
It wasn't because she was maliciously
No, it's just how
trying
she
not
was
to be.
raised. Like,
She was financially supportive,
Right.
which is a blessing you don't realize.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had this conversation with Pam before,
Yeah.
but you know, sometimes you get so caught up in the emotional side of things. But there's a lot of people who have parents who are neither.
right.
They're not emotionally or financially supportive.
Right.
So I realized as I matured that I was really fortunate
Yes.
for my mom,
Yeah.
even with our emotional disconnect.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can help you get through, especially those hard times or those early years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like my kids have a similar situation in that, and I remember that after a conversation with you, and it's because sometimes the emotional stuff is so hard, and especially for kids, that's
What they long
all
for.
they think about. But it's good to remind people, like, but let's think maybe you know, Dad's not doing things emotionally that you're desiring, but like, what could we focus on the good that he is bringing?
Yeah.
And if that is like some opportunities, even if they're financial, then that's something to be thankful for too.
Yeah.
And if that's the way he can love best, then you just have to accept that. You can't be like, how come you don't love me emotionally like this dad over here? Because like you said, some people just don't, they genuinely can't. They're doing their best.
Yeah.
And you know, so that's great if you can see that even with your mom. It probably helps you to have a relationship with her and not have like bitterness or resentment. If you're like, I'm gonna accept your good and your bad, like understand, like maybe probably thinking like, oh, as a mom, I'm gonna have more of that emotional side, but just because you didn't doesn't mean
I think it's my mom's way of showing love. And once you're mature enough to understand that, it can even help you in your own parenting.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. So you're married, you're living in the house, 2 kids.
Yeah.
You're a stay-at-home mom, your husband's working.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does the next couple years look like?
Well, you know what? At the time, it was interesting because obviously I had all my best friends from high school. My high school is a boarding school. So we basically, even though I was a day student, when you're at Ridley, you live there.
Yeah.
You know, we had school on Saturdays, you could sleep over, and all your friends are living there without their parents because it's primarily a boarding school. And my best friends to this day are still my Ridley girls to this day. And we are sisters. And there's a group of us, we have a chat. I'm telling you, we talk every day in this chat.
Yeah.
We get together multiple times a year and people have to get on planes to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's great, but obviously at the time, all of my friends are in university,
Right.
and they're just living their best university lives.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I look back on it, and everyone would say, like, do you feel like you missed out on your youth? Do you feel like you missed out on that? Because I would have gone to university, and and I don't, because I had a lot of experiences in my teenage years that a lot of kids didn't have, because of my mom's financial support, and I was able to travel. I mean, to this day, even in my teen years, I've traveled than most adults that I know. Even taking away my current adult travel. And we did a lot of partying, and we had a lot of fun. Maybe ahead of our years. And I didn't, and I was really in love with my kids. As especially your first kid, it's intoxicating. And I think because social media didn't exist back then, I didn't have this feeling that I was missing anything. Do you know what I mean? I would maybe call my girlfriends. We'd connect once a month on the phone, as you did back then. And, they would say, oh, it's fun, but, I'm not watching videos and photos every weekend of all the awesome stuff they're doing that I'm missing out on. So I actually thought I wasn't missing out on anything.
Right.
And the girlfriend I was closest to at the time, my girlfriend Josie, and she was a bit more of a sleepy person anyways in our group. So she wasn't the party animal in our group. And so she's the one, she lived in Ireland, so I would see her the most. And she loved spending time with me and Ethan. And she was a big part of my life in those years. She was the friend I saw the most. But because she wasn't a party at all, I'd be like, what's everyone doing at school? She's like, well, not much. So, because she wasn't the biggest party animal. And so I actually never had this ache.
That you missed.
And, but I think, now if I were to have the same situation with social media, I got pregnant young, I'd probably be sick. Like I feel like, man, I messed up. I'm like, look at this, right? I should have just done this after. But I didn't, and I loved it. But there were cracks that started to show, and in retrospect, I see a lot of things. But at the time, my ex-husband was spending time with other people, and there were times when I would say, like, could you come home? And the answer would be no. Like, I'm gonna go hang out with this person instead. And it kind of, it's hard to, like, one of the things when you say, like, when did you realize? I remember for a few months talking to him about, I feel unhappy. Right? But when you're that age and you're adulting, and the first time you start to feel unhappy, because when you're young, it's just so blissful. And I thought, what is this? And you just think, you don't understand what it is, and we didn't have the resources like the internet, and whether that's good or bad. But you think, like, what is this unhappiness? Because you're just coming out of youth. And we all hit that at some point, but when you hit it, when you're like adulting sucks. But when you hit it so young with 2 kids, and I never felt that I never felt a sense of regret for having my children. But I did talk to my ex-husband multiple times and say, I feel like I'm not happy here. And the conversations go on for time. This is not like you make up your mind one day and
you keep like trying and trying.
Of course you do. Especially when you have kids. And then I'm getting reports from people that he's spending time with these women, and again, this is before social media. So it's not that you can go creep people and see or check locations, and it's nothing like that. Like, my phone attached to the wall would ring, and I would get calls from people. And, and the one time I can clearly remember lying in bed, and I was crying, and I said, I'm really unhappy. Like, I think I'm really unhappy. And then I looked over, and he was snoring, and we weren't drinkers, so it's not that he, and he was snoring, and I was like, he just fell asleep.
He's just not.
Well, I was talking about,
like, pouring out my heart.
And I remember something switched in my head, and then that summer, the kids and I was always really independent with the kids. The kids and I went away for the summer, and we went away for like a month. And we went over to Europe for a month.
Wow.
And just Ethan and Brianna and I, and oh God, Brianna was 1.
Wow.
So Ethan would have been 4. And I remember spending this month, I don't speak French, spending this month in like a coastal town in France, and we rented like a little apartment. And my sister was living in Switzerland at the time, so she came and visited us a few times.
Okay.
But we were alone for a good part of it, and you know, I'd have to go find a payphone, straight up find a payphone to call home. And I remember feeling like, and it was like so hard getting there. I had so many suitcases and 2 small kids, and I had a layover, and it was Charles de Gaulle's a terrible airport, and the French are rude, like nobody will help you with the airport. And I got there though, despite all that, and I remember being like, I feel better.
Like relief almost, like
I feel better being alone.
Wow.
Because when you take away the expectation, there's no expectation that someone should be coming home to help me with the kids.
Right.
There's no expectation that someone should be coming home and joining us for dinner.
Yeah.
When it's just me with these kids,
So true.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I said and you know, we all do damage to ourselves by our own expectations, and this removed it. And I remember going home, so if I went home in August or the end of summer, and I think by October and November we were separated. But it was a weird separation because my mom lived next door to us, and I would stay at home with the kids, and I'd cook and dinner and bedtime, and then I'd like slunk over to my mother's house, and I'd go sleep at her house. And then I'd wake up at 6 a.m. My kids were really good sleepers. And I'd wake up at 6 a.m. and go, and when they woke up, I'd be like, good morning.
As if nothing.
And we were separated for months like that.
But he was living there?
He was living in his house. Like he'd sleep there.
Right.
Yeah. But it went on for a few months like that. But again, without social media, like nobody knew about it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
Nobody knew about it. And I was like, no, I'm gonna get an apartment. And even at the turn of the new year, I was like, I'm gonna start dating. You know, all my girlfriends were in their party stage. I was 23, 24. I don't know how old I was, so young. And my girlfriends are like, we're getting you out. Like my girlfriends that knew. And I had this one girlfriend who was big in the bar scene, and she was like, we're going. And my sister would babysit, and you know, and we would go out, and but nobody knew.
Right.
Because you just didn't know things back then.
Yeah.
And which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So I started dating, and but then the narrative changed, because it was like, you know, then he was like, well, she's cheating on me, because nobody knew we were separated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is fine. There's nothing I needed to defend.
Yeah.
And like I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
My friends knew what was going on.
Yeah.
The people I loved knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when any shame you feel about things, whether it's like the failure of a marriage not working out, or the shame of this perception, you know, of anything, when you have people around you that know the truth, and you can tell them your truth, it like takes that shame away, because they still love you.
Right. And the people that really matter, they're in your corner, so that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it doesn't even matter what you did or what you didn't do. When you have people around you that will love you no matter what.
Yeah.
And I really had a good group of friends.
Wow.
And of course my sister. So it wasn't as hard as it should have been. But then then there came this night, and it was in January then of the next New Year, where, you know, I went to the house and I said, like I've got an apartment lined up. I've got an apartment. Like you stay in the house, like I've got an apartment, and this and that, and I will tell you, I hate talking about my husband, in a lot of my ex-husband in a lot of respects, because I don't like that he's not here to defend himself, because we all know there's 2 sides to every story, and then there's the truth.
Yeah.
Right. So this I will share, which I have comfortably shared, and this is a factual night that happened. This is on record, so I don't mind sharing this. But obviously, I don't like talking bad about my ex-husband because, again, he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah.
But this is a factual night that happened. So I went, I think it was January 31st, and I went to the home and I said, you know, I've got an apartment, like I can do this. Like I thought I committed dating suicide because I'm whatever age I was with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Who's gonna date me?
Yeah.
And I saw people were willing to date me,
Yeah.
and they were actually very fine with it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I could see my future, like, and not that in that I needed to date someone to see a future, but I saw that I would not spend eternity alone.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't even just put up with this for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so but then he got absolutely enraged, and he spent about 45 minutes physically abusing me in front of my children, like in a big way.
And had he done that kind of thing before?
No, we had a pretty explosive fights, like throwing things like that. But that I thought was normal. My mom was my mom was a bit violent when we were young.
Yeah.
And so like she was just angry and frustrated, and I'm not justifying what she did, but there was definitely some like hitting when we were young, and beyond the scope of like 80s slapping.
Right.
And like so, you know, facts used to be at our house sometimes.
Yeah.
But and I guess you know, when you grow up like that, you just think that's how it is.
Right.
That's how anger is handled.
Yeah. When people are really mad, this is what happens.
Yeah, things should get thrown.
Yeah.
But even this episode was beyond that.
Right.
And the problem was that my children were there. So this went on, and
the kids are how old at this point?
so Ethan would have been 5 and Brianna would have been 2.
So then are they saying, like, I'm just imagining things in my own past, like, where the kids are saying, like, stop it, Daddy, don't.
Yeah,
don't
that was
like
it was just Ethan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just him. And yeah, it was not something any 5-year-old should have seen. And you know, that's a guilt I carry forever. Not that I necessarily should, but it's anyways, you do.
Yeah.
And so I left that. And it's not what you think. Like I didn't run out of there with my children and call the police.
Right.
I didn't do that at all.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember I called my mom's assistant. My mom had this assistant who straight up ran our life. And I called my mom's assistant, and I was like, Ann,
This just happened.
this is what's happened. And I remember his mom showing up in the driveway, and like
Like
my ex-husband's mom.
So mother-in-law.
And I had like marks on me, and like you could see. And I remember her looking at me and saying, well, what did you do? And I remember being so confused. And
Yeah, what could you do
Yeah,
that
and
would
you
deserve
don't
a
understand.
down from a man?
so I go to my mom's next door, and then the next day I called my friend Mark. He was a close friend of mine at the time, and he was an RPP officer. And I actually just called him for advice. But I did not know that when, like, a police officer's responsibility,
He's like a duty to report kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Right.
legally.
Yeah. Legally.
Yeah, and I didn't know that.
Right.
Like I thought I was just talking to my bestie,
Friend to friend.
and
Yeah.
and he's like, Era, I gotta call this in. And I was like, what? And he was like, I gotta call this in. And then I went to my girlfriend Trisha's house, and I met the police officers there. They were amazing. I had to give a full report, and then I had to go in. They had to show the weapons, like there was a knife involved. Like they had to show all of it. And I will never forget sitting in the police station, and it was a female police officer who said to me, and she said, good for you. For calling this in. I was like, I didn't. And she was like, she's like, well, good for you for coming in. And she said, I can't tell how many times I see this. And then they go back,
The person's dead.
and the next time I see them is in a body bag.
Yeah.
And she goes, and Erica, it's not even because they're intentionally trying to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's out of control.
what if they just
Yeah.
push you down the stairs in the wrong way?
Or they hit you one
Yeah.
time, like
Yeah.
with something. Yeah, totally.
And then I will never ever forget this. after she said that, she looked me straight in the eyes and she said, I just want you to know right now, you are going to become the bad person. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't understand. She goes, I just want you to be mentally prepared for it. She goes, you are going to become the bad person and he is going to become the victim. She goes, just know. She goes, I wish it wasn't like that, but that's what's going to happen.
Wow.
And that's what happened. Like when he got arrested and went to jail, my mother went and visited him in jail. She wouldn't talk to me. Like my stepfather at the time, not my stepfather, the man she was with at that point. Yeah. We were all close family. Like they went to, how could you send him to jail?
Yeah.
How does that happen though? How? Like I try to wrap my head around. I'm like, what is in people's heads to side with the abuser? Because it happens all the time, and I don't know what it is behind it.
Well, it's funny that happened. I had a very similar experience at a rehab that I was with my husband, and the counselor did the same thing to me. He looked at me and he said, I've been doing this a long time, and he said, like, you shouldn't be in this situation because of XYZ, and he said, I just want you to know though that you're doing the right thing when he becomes the victim and everyone says, oh, you shouldn't have, and you should give him another chance, and he didn't mean it, and give him all the excuses. And he said, it's wrong and it's messed up, but I see this time and time again, and be ready for it, and don't question yourself. When everyone around you who you think should have your back questions you, do not question yourself. And I remember thinking, what? No, all of the people in my life, they'll understand, they'll support me. And then when things came out with him too, I was stunned at the people that made excuses, turned on me, and I was like, wait, what? Like, I didn't think people in my life would do that. It's crazy. It's like a real thing that happens.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I've since done a lot of great stuff at Jillian's place, and they always, the biggest question when it's an issue of domestic violence, people say, when it happens multiple times, let's say, it just happened once to me and I was out. But when it's repeated and they say, well, why did she go back? I was like, why do people ask that question? Then Jillian's place says, why do they ask that question? Instead of saying, well, why does he hit? Why does he hurt? They all say, well, why did she go back? And I understand why women go back. Listen, like I as much as I could, even after that, I forgave my ex-husband. Like I even I tried to I was like, okay, we're gonna move past this, and anyways, we didn't move past it. We had a really long, ugly divorce that went on, I swear, for 400 years. But that went on forever. But yeah, that was one of that police officer. I'll never forget it. As if it was happening right now. And
but so good, because you say like this happened one time, but had it not got to that level of being reported, whatever, who knows? It could have happened again the next time. Like if no one really knew and things had settled down, and then even if you guys went back to have a conversation or something like that could have happened again, right? It's so totally in a way, it's like good for him for putting that, good for that female police officer to just have a real conversation with you about like, buckle up, this is gonna get really rough, right? But
so that ended that. But the divorce did go on for a long time. As you guys know, separation and then like custody are two different things you deal through. And so the custody was wrapped up pretty quick, but everything else, like the property assets, all that took forever. And I mean, we laugh. My current husband and I laugh about it because technically my last divorce the paperwork didn't arrive until 2 days before Mark and I were married. Mark, who's my current husband, because it just, and I said to my lawyer, I was like, listen, I've got a wedding plan. Because it should have been there sooner. Because I remarried relatively, quickly. Within, 3 or 4 years I was remarried. So, so.
I think it's wild how you hear that so many times where like, and I know it happens with women too, but often with men, who it's like, you didn't seem like you wanted to be married. Because when we were married, you didn't really take that seriously.
Yeah.
You weren't there. You didn't seem to enjoy the married life. You're always trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
But then now I'm giving you the opportunity, like the marriage is over, but then they don't want to give that up either.
Yeah.
And then they fight you and they drag it out tooth and nail. And you're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah,
Because
you didn't want to be here.
You didn't want to be
Yeah.
here. I'm saying, like, I give it white flag, or this is over. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, it's not over. And
Yeah.
I'm going to fight you for this and make your life hell. And you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, it's so dysfunctional and it's so strange to me because
Yeah.
you see it over and over.
Yeah, well, it's so different to me as I've watched a lot of my friends get divorces over the years too. It's so different when the woman leaves the man versus the man leaving the woman.
Totally. It's like a pride thing, right?
Yeah.
I've almost found no exception to it.
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
like you almost like have to just like back channel, like get him to leave you. Just
Yeah.
so it'll be easier. Because
Yeah.
if you try to leave him,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, oh no, he wants, like,
Yeah.
it's like they want what they can't have, or I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
it's
but-
very interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Huh.
So then how did you meet your current
Yes.
husband, Mark? Like, how did
Mark?
that all happen?
Yeah, so Mark I'd actually known since I was a teenager. Mark was a really close family friend.
Okay.
My sister, who, as I said, was 7 years older than me, was very good friends with his aunt.
Okay.
So Mark's dad has he's one of 5 siblings, and he's at the older end. And then he had a sister who was much younger than him.
Okay.
So Celia and her were good friends.
Okay.
And because we were in the hotel business, my mom always worked on holidays. So we would often go spend holidays. Like I would spend holidays, I'd go over and be with my Uncle Jimmy or with friends who lived abroad, and same with my sister. But in the off chance that we were home for a holiday, we were always invited to the Lepp's house.
Okay.
So yeah, always. So Celia would always be at their house for Easter or Thanksgiving or Christmas if she was home. And since Celia and I were basically like, if you invited Celia, you were inviting her little sister and vice versa. Like we were always together if we were home.
Yeah.
So then I would go if I was home too. So sometimes we would spend the holidays with them, which is really funny.
Yeah.
So I knew them anyways. And then when that girlfriend of mine who was taking me out to the bars, the one night, I said, oh, my friend's dragging me to the chili pepper. And you remember the chili pepper?
The hot place,
Dragging me to the chili pepper, and Mark's aunt and Celia were there, and she was like, oh, my nephew's gonna be there. And one of their friends has like a limo or something it was, or if you need a ride home. You can text him, and of course, back then it was like the ABC, D, E, F. And like, you had to press each number 3 times to get like one word. And I said, okay. And I put his number in my flip phone. And that's where we reconnected.
Wild.
Yeah.
And just fell in love, and the rest
Well,
is
no.
history, or where did it go from there?
No, I aggressively hit on him.
Oh.
And you know what? I think he had a girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
Which is terrible.
Yeah.
Which is like, right, isn't that always the case? I mean, I don't even think I knew he had a girlfriend.
didn't matter. No
yeah.
obstacles.
Isn't that
Just,
terrible?
Like, focus. I know
No.
a good man when I see
You always hear that? Like, you hear about someone who's been cheated on, and then
They had no idea.
which is terrible.
Yeah.
But he was younger than me, and but no, and then I don't know, and then he broke up with her, and then we just started like quietly dating. But I have to tell you, we dated for about 2 years, but it was interesting because I never had him sleep over because I never wanted the kids to like see him there. Ever. Like, and we I probably dumped him like 20 times.
Oh wow.
No, that might be an exaggeration, but like
But
honestly,
a lot.
like 8 to 10 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my therapist at the time was explaining it to me that I was so hurt from my marriage that it's like I just needed to see that he
Would want you, like, would
Would want-
chase
yeah,
you back,
which is-
kind of. Aw.
probably not healthy, but it's
Yeah.
like like that's just where I was at emotionally.
Yeah.
And plus I was still, again, I was so young still. I was like 25, 26. Like I was so immature still.
Yeah.
And
Your brain was just developing.
and I just kept on dumping him. And I didn't, sometimes I'd go date other people.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the last time I dumped him, I remember him saying to me and saying like, listen, I know you've got a lot going on in there.
Yeah.
And he said, and I know I know being with you is not easy. Like I was going through a gross divorce. Like, you know, my ex-husband would show up and beat down the door sometimes, and like I was not an easy person to date at all.
And he was just like single, no kids, no
kind of like young. They
whatever.
You know, at our age when we get divorced, you don't have a lot of options, but like at that age, you have a lot of options. You don't need someone with so much baggage. But he said, you know, I know you have a lot going on, and he goes like, and you need to do this, which is dumping him. And he said, he was like, but I know God's gonna bring us together, and I'll be here for you. Wow. I'll be here for you when you work this out.
Right. So you go do your thing, and then come back when you're ready. Wow, that's crazy.
And then that was the last time.
And how long so did you follow through with the dumping then? And then how long was it until you were like, hey, I'm ready?
I think like a few months.
Okay.
Yeah, a few months. And then, and then we were like married, pregnant, like everything. It was all
like once you realized it, it was just like
bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. And then we've been together for 18 years.
Wow.
How old's my daughter? 18 years.
So you went on to have 2 more children.
2 more children.
Okay.
But at that point when we got married, Brianna would have been, so if she was 2 when we split, then she would have been, this was only 2 years this all happened.
Right.
So then like she would have been 4 when we were married.
Okay.
And Ethan would have been 7.
Okay.
So Brianna probably doesn't even really remember life without him.
She doesn't.
Yeah.
Brianna was very much raised by Mark. Ethan was too, but it was a little bit different.
Right.
Because after we split, my ex-husband took off and he went and did some schooling, so he didn't live here for years.
Okay.
And you know, and I remember getting into arguments with his family, and you know, when they'd see court papers and they'd be like, "Erica, how could you say that? Like, you know, he wants to be a dad when he comes back." And I said, well, isn't that nice to have that option?
Yeah.
Isn't that nice to have that option?
Crazy. Yeah.
You know? Oh, can I take off for 4 years?
Right.
Yeah.
And go get a master's and come back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And men,
It's so infuriating. It happens all the time.
Female family members saying it to me. I was like, I'm not having this conversation.
Yeah.
And but you know what? The divorce went on for so long, and the court stuff, because and looking back, I wish I had just settled it all sooner.
Right.
That's a big regret of mine.
Yeah.
And it was my stubbornness too. That comes with youth.
Yeah.
And it was stupid. And anyone going through stuff now is like, they're like, what's your advice? I go, honestly, just settle it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And it dragged on. It dragged on for 8 times longer than we were married.
Right.
And I just wish I had settled it sooner. I remember giving birth to Jada May, my 3rd child, and a week later I had to go to court. And you know, like a week after you have a baby, and my girlfriend Mallory came with me, and I was like leaking breast milk in the courtroom, and I was like, this is insanity.
Yeah.
What am I fighting for?
Yeah.
Who do I need to prove that I'm right to?
Yeah.
But it was myself I wanted to prove it to. It was all for me.
Yeah.
And my husband had a friend he was the only person I knew at the time who was divorced, and he said to me, he said, Erica, my ex-wife, she wanted money, and you know what? I just paid her. Just to get, he goes, it was the best money I ever spent.
You can always make more money.
Yeah. And I remember saying to my lawyer, it's fine. Like, let's just pay him and let's sit this
Pay
down.
him and get it done.
I don't
Because
care.
most of what you're saying went on was over money, I'm assuming.
Yeah, money. And I was like, you know, out of principle, I was like, this isn't right. And, you know, my family had money. And I was like, this is not right. But then I was like, you know what? You're right. And I whatever savings I had at the time, and a lot of the money was not mine. Yeah. But it's like, you know, there's still this like thing of like, right? Obviously families have names on things, you know? And so we ended it then, and I paid him, and it was the best money I ever spent. Yeah. That friend was
for your
not
peace.
wrong.
You're just
For
like,
your peace, yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta move on with my life.
Yeah.
And so Mark and I raised the 4 kids, and you know, Ethan and Brandon didn't call Mark dad, nothing like that.
Yeah.
And they'd still see their dad once in a while, and but yeah, like
wow.
Yeah.
And they're literally 4 of the most stunning children I've ever laid eyes on.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, they are models.
Yeah, they're lovely. They're lovely on the inside too.
Yes, I know. I keep going on and on about their looks, but I think because I'm just like,
they're very lovely.
How do real life humans look like that? Like,
yeah, they're lovely.
Wow. They're like airbrushed in person.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
you
really
can look
sweet.
like that.
all the filters that Instagram puts out are her actual children in real life.
Yeah, they're sweet and they're very, my 3 girls are best friends.
Oh, I love
And
that.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, it has worked out.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, given everything you have gone through and, you know, just life, even hearing your mom's story, I still can't get over this not stopping swimming for 36 hours. I think my brain is still stuck there. Like the fact that, you know, both you like escape communism to come here, and just the story of your mom's success, even finding the sunny side.
Well, it gets crazier.
Oh.
Because our family story gets crazier. So that's me. And then, what year are we in? 11 years ago, my mom and her partner at the time traveled to Peru.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, who was such a workaholic her whole life, and you know, she never even really got to know Celia and I. And that was 2013. So almost 12 years now, 2013. That summer, my mom sits us down and she says, you know what, girls, I've worked so hard. I have spent, like, I don't know you. I've worked my whole life and I've missed your whole life.
Wow.
And she said, it's gonna change. And she goes, it's gonna change. And she was like, these are like words my sister and I
Long to hear.
like,
What
are
happened?
neglected children like our whole life.
Yeah.
We're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and I have to say, at that year, we literally looked at each other and like, we've made it.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've made it.
Wow.
And my mom said, book us. She goes, book this trip for our whole family, all the grandbabies, Mark, all the grandkids. My popo was turning 100. We were all going to go to China. We were all going to do, like, everybody. Mark and my younger 2 kids were going to get to meet my popo. And she said, I've just got this dream. I've got this dream to go to Machu Picchu. My lifelong dream. And then after that, I want every trip to be with you guys. We're going to go and do all these things together. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
And my mother goes to Machu Picchu, and we get a call, and there had been a horrific bus accident, which I guess we have since learned is very common in Beirut. And my mother's seatbelt had broken, and her spine was severed. At her C6 and C7 vertebrae, which are the ones that pop out. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with spinal cord, but it's like, you know, it's kind of like the higher up. That's like the injury happens from where the injury is below. So if it's kind of down here on the spine versus that's like, again, I'm not a medical professional, but this is like the loose things that I learned in this experience. And so if that is true, that is what I was told.
Right.
And so my sister and I flew down to Peru, which was crazy because it was a Sunday, and where she was in a remote part of Peru, and they said she has to be airlifted to Lima to have surgery in 24 hours, or like she may die.
Wow.
And we were like, yes. And this is where there was a lot of life lessons in this. I was 34 at the time.
Right.
And we were like, yes, like, where do we send, here's a credit card. Like, thank goodness we were in a financial position. We were like, we will pay for the private chopper.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, oh no, bank transfer only. And it's Sunday night where we are in Niagara. We're like, bank transfer only?
Yeah.
What? So my sister's trying to call her bank manager at TD. Like, we have the money.
Yeah.
But like, who can you get in touch with on a Sunday night?
Yeah.
To wire money down to Peru?
Yeah.
So my sister did her schooling in Europe, and all her best friends were from Europe, like her school friends, right? And so of course they're 6-7 hours ahead, depending on where they were. She contacts a friend in Germany. This friend in Germany is so well connected, and he goes, I'm going to call the head of Red Cross in Germany. And the head of Red Cross calls the head of Red Cross in Peru and says, send the chopper, or whatever they needed to send. You will get your money.
Wow.
Like, I actually don't know how someone who didn't have connections
would get that.
She just died.
And travel insurance means nothing in a certain. Everyone's like, well, did you have insurance? I was like, you guys know how insurance works. Process your paperwork. And on a Sunday night,
Wow.
So we get to Lima. My mom had we went to a private neurosurgeon's clinic, 2 spinal surgeries. They were like, she'll never walk again. She'll never have control of her hands, her bowels, nothing.
No.
She's totally tetraplegic, they called it. Again, I still don't even know what that means, but we think of it as like paraplegia. I have no idea.
Right.
We pay for a private medic plane to bring her back to Hamilton General. We had a doctor friend on the ground who sorted her. We get her into Hamilton General. There were an absurd amount of lessons I learned from this. First of all, my mother traveled, her health card, her Ontario health card was expired. She had it with her, but when you have an expired Ontario health card, it's actually an issue if you need to come back into the country. And so don't travel without your health card, friends, and make sure it's up to date, which you don't think is a big deal when you travel if you have travel insurance.
Right.
And you know, I went into that experience really naive. I was 34, which is still young.
Yeah.
And I was in this like daydreamy, privileged kid position where I was like, money doesn't matter. Like as long as you have love and health.
Right.
And I was in this bubble of stupidness. And I remember calling my husband from Peru and being like, listen to me, Mark, it's time to grow up. I was like, we need to, we need to make money. We need to, because your health, like, even money helps your health, as we all know now, but like at the time I was, again, dumb and naive.
Right.
And I said, if I'm ever in a position like this, I don't know. I actually said to Mark, I don't know what people who didn't have money or connections would do.
Right. I think the person just dies.
We all hear these stories.
Yeah.
And I said, where they're stuck in a hospital in a country somewhere for months because insurance is not working and all that travel insurance you got. So we get my mom back to Hamilton, and then the Canadian medical team looks her over, and my mom is, if I ever learned anything, I happened to be, my sister and I took turns being with her. I happened to be with her the day the team, the neurosurgeons and everyone came in, and they looked at her and they're like, CY, you're never gonna walk again. You're never gonna, because we thought, oh, once the Canadian doctors will we'll get a better idea. Never gonna walk again. You'll never use the bathroom again. You'll never use your hands again. Get it out of your head. So I'm like standing in the corner of this hospital room, and I'm like, it's like worst case answers.
Yeah.
And you know, they walk out, and I'm like trying not to cry. I'm like, cool, okay, mom, you know, and I'm trying to be cool about it.
Yes.
And I don't know if I can swear, but my mom, who does not swear, she's not a swearer. She's lying in this bed. Like 6 doctors just had this conversation with her, and she goes, "Did you hear that?" I go, "Yeah, mom. Yeah, I heard it." And she's like, "You heard what they said?" I was like, "I did, mom. I did. I was standing right here.
Yeah.
I heard what they said." And she's like, looks me square in the eyes. She goes, "They don't fucking know me."
Whoa.
Wow.
And I was like,
Okay.
I go, "Okay, mom." And then I walked out to the hallway and I called Mark crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Mark, this is awful." She went into the rehabilitation so hard. Spinal cord injury is not like if you and I break our leg,
Right.
you know, it's going to heal, and how hard you work at your rehab and how hard I work can yield different results.
Right.
Spinal cord injuries, like, it gets to a certain point, and you can work like a slave and it will not change.
Right.
Right? You've basically got that first few months, and but even the amount of work you have, like the amount of healing that's going to happen is actually only what's going to happen.
Right.
Some people might heal to this point, and some people might heal to this point.
Right.
Well, my mom, who did it in Hamilton, then she went to a private place in Florida. I don't want to say my mom walks. Like from me to you would take, 10 seconds, which is a very long time from me to you.
Yeah.
But she can do it.
She can get it done.
She can get up like with a walker, and she can use her hand in a gross motor way.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
So she like beat the odds.
Well, yeah, like
channeled
she's
her, like,
still
workaholic
like
mentality
it's not like she doesn't have her fine motor, like she can't, but she can grab a spoon and feed herself like this. She can grab a pen and sign her name, and she hits the computer with her knuckle. Okay. Like, it's amazing.
Wow.
But then this happened in November of that year, and then a few months later, my sister was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and it was crazy. So she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and then 2 months later she quit.
Oh, wow.
So this was like in a 6-month period for my family.
No.
All of this, and it was so much. Wow. And it was so much. And it was so much at once.
Yeah.
And right after your mom just has this epiphany and then her accident, then she loses that opportunity with your sister. That is tragic.
It was so much at once.
Wow.
And I just remember coming out of that when I eventually came out of it. And I remember saying to my husband, we've learned two things. You might not live to be the age you think you want to live to, and you also might not live to be the health you think you're going to live to.
Right.
And it taught us so much. And I wish none of that happened,
Right.
but it did. And it actually changed our lives so much for the positive.
Right.
Again, to be clear, I wish this never happened,
Right.
but it did.
But like a seize the day mentality.
Well,
of thing,
just
like
you just
never
realize you realize those two things.
Yeah.
But when you actually realize that and you can put it into practice, then that's the best possible outcome of such bad things to happen.
Wow.
Because they've already happened, so there's nothing you can change about that. And it changed our entire lives in many ways. But the end result has been as positive as we could make it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where is your mom today? Where is she? Is she living on her own?
She's still
Is
in Niagara. Yeah, she lives on her own. She re-outfitted her
Wow.
home. I mean, what a blessing. My mom is in a financial position. She has a lot of caregivers with her, so she's able to stay in her home. I thank the Lord every day for that, because I actually, my hearts go out to people who can't afford such care, or their parents are in those situations with physical disabilities and have to go to public care. We are really blessed. My mom has amazing caregivers. Yeah, my kids spend time with my mom. Yeah, my mom still works every day.
Wow.
Yeah, she gets on this tricycle and rides her bike to work every day. They strap her hands and feet to it, and then her helper pushes her.
Wow.
And everyone in the town sees her on her bike every day, like winter, rain, sun, every day.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
it's
Wow.
amazing. It's amazing. And so when you think about when people are like, Erica, I don't know how you got through all those hard times. I was like, look at who my mother is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come from hard stock there.
Yeah,
Like,
look
it
at who
just-
my
yeah.
mother is.
Yeah.
Like, wow, look who my family is. Like, it's my uncle is one of the highest. He's the biggest political prisoner in jail right now,
Wow.
and he's in jail by the communist government.
Your that twin brother?
Yeah,
that
my mom's twin brother.
So did he go? How did that happen? Did he go
Because
back?
no, yeah, he was in Hong Kong and he was a newspaper publisher, and
Because he lived here, right? Is that what you said
no,
at the beginning?
no, he stayed in
never
Hong
did.
Kong, yeah.
Oh, he stayed there, so
He was
he
in Hong Kong.
invested with your mom at the hotels, but he never moved
Never.
here.
Yeah,
he always came to visit. He'd
yeah.
spend like
Okay,
he'd come here in the
But
summer.
he was in Hong
But he's
Kong.
in jail right now. I mean, I'm not going to get into his story because that's a whole nother one. But
Yeah.
you can Google Jimmy Lai, and he, we're all fighting for him, everybody, and he's, and that's where he is now. And I think of everything my mom and uncle have overcome,
Wow.
and it's so crazy because my uncle's in literal prison for doing nothing more than publishing a newspaper, which people do all the time in Canada.
Yeah.
And then my mom is in this physical prison, and it's like I think of everything they've overcome, and their stories are remarkable and certainly unique. And so when people say to me like, oh, I said, oh no, what I've dealt with feels like nothing.
Right.
It feels like nothing. And sometimes what a blessing to have that perspective within my own family.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, where people just overcome, because that's a lot to.
Yeah.
Because even for you, I'm just thinking when you're talking, like the loss of your sister was probably even maybe deeper in a way for you, because she was the only real family
Yes.
in an
Yeah.
emotional sense you'd had your whole life, right? It's not the same. Not that losing a sibling in a stable family is any less tragic. I'm not trying to say that at all.
Of
But
course.
I'm just imagining for you, it's like you and her against the world for your whole life. And then you lose her so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While your mom's going through something like that, I can't even imagine.
No. My
what that
sister was
like.
also, all my best friends would say, oh no, Celia was Erica's mother too.
Yeah.
Like the joke was when we were at Ridley, the school would just call my sister if I needed to be something.
Because you said
Right,
she was
there's
7
like
years
7
older.
years.
Yeah, right.
And like they
yeah.
just knew they could never get in touch with my mother.
Right.
She was working.
Right.
Right.
And my sister was my mom too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she just, like her best friends now are like my big sisters and
Yeah.
big brothers,
Yeah.
because I'm still in touch with all of her friends.
Yeah.
And they still take care of me, and still like we still do trips with them. And yeah, like my sister, the loss of my sister at the time felt impossible. But I spent a lot of time in therapy.
Right.
And I think even people who have wonderful, healthy lives should be in therapy.
Yeah.
And it's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
And even if the muscle is right, you still got to go to the gym to maintain it. Therapy really, it saved me. And I don't know how anybody does life without it. I think it saved me. It still saves me.
Yeah.
And my friend, a really good friend of mine, Raj at the time, got me in with a psychiatrist right after Silly died, who you could not get in with. But he was a family friend of Raj's, and I got in with him, and he goes, "I'm putting you in a group therapy." I was like, "Absolutely not." You know, and I said, I'd always done private therapy.
Yeah.
And I said, "Are you crazy? Absolutely not. I'm not sitting in a room with 20 strangers.
Yeah.
Absolutely not."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Then I'm going to medicate you." And I really didn't want to be medicated.
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, I'll try it."
Yeah.
And for months, 3 hours a week with a group. And the group started out with 20 people. And by the end, oh my gosh, we did this for like months. 3 hours on a Thursday at the Niagara Hospital. And by the end, I think we were 5 people.
Wow.
And I've never had anything change my life so much. It was incredible.
What about the group dynamic do you feel like is so different? Like just the camaraderie with others?
Well, it strips you bare. Because you're sitting here with strangers and, you know, crying, and like, it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
There's nothing comfortable about that.
Yeah.
And I hate saying this, but there was a woman whose situation was awful. What this one, it actually changed my perspective on how I look at homeless people, what her life, what she was born into, and what she endured. And I'm not going to share her story because obviously it's not mine to share, but it's just even that perspective of sitting with people and going, maybe my life's not so bad, right? But seeing it in its rawest form. Because nowadays we can all watch videos of people going through terrible things, but we're so used to it.
We've almost become like immune.
Yeah. I mean, we all know there's people suffering more than us in a mental and physical sense. But when I guess you sit in a room with that person for 3 months straight for 3 hours a week, and that's, and I'm not sure if that's even the purpose of it, but that was how it affected me.
Wow.
And
that's like, even, do you remember when we had a guest on, Javon Brown, who's like an athlete, and he said something that stuck with me. He said that similar, like he said, you know, if everybody like put their problems in a hat, and then you saw the other problems, you might be like, let me just take my problem back. Like, I don't want to accidentally reach in and grab that other person's life. Like, I'll just, and sometimes that perspective is so healthy, and not to lessen what you're going through, but I think that's so important, like what you just said. When you see somebody else's situation too, you can find even some gratitude in what you're going through so hard, but to say, but I'm thankful I'm not going through that, right? Which does put a different spin, like perspective on it, right? Which is,
well, it was any of that. Like, I look back at my first marriage and I go, you know, I'm so glad for it. I learned so many things. I grew, you know, thankfully, because I left it safe. I can, you know, and I have a wonderful marriage now for many reasons, but one of them being that, you know, I learned what I don't want in a marriage, and you know,
sometimes that's just as important as knowing what you do want, right? Or more important sometimes.
And I, you know, obviously I don't wish my daughters to go through an experience like that, but if they did, they're gonna have the same kind of support that I had. Like, my mother supported me, even if it wasn't emotionally. She supported me, and my sister did, and my friends, and you know, when I look back on it all, as we always know, the key to happiness is your relationships, and not I don't mean your intimate ones, like, and they're so important.
Wow.
And I just, you know, I have a lot of regrets about how I handled a lot of that, but, and you know, I look at because I have adult kids now, and I can see how it's impacted them. Especially my son, and I can really see how it impacted him, and he still struggles from it. And I look back at the mistakes I made and how I dealt with it with him, and almost how I overcorrected too. I tried to make up he had nightmares for years, and I tried to make up almost for what he endured, and I tried to like make life so fun and so great and so perfect, and this new stepdad so great, and you know, maybe I should have just really let him see a bit more of what was wrong with what happened.
Yeah.
And you know, and not that you're going to tell kids a full truth like that, but you know, yeah, I felt I overcorrected.
Yeah, I think as parents we want to protect our kids from any harm, especially harm that maybe they would have already seen or done, that we try to like overcorrect even or over, you know, even in the slightest things. We've talked about this in the podcast, like, you know, you yell at your kid or you're upset with your kid, and so then like you're like, you say you're sorry and you feel sorry, but then you're like, okay, like the next day, like let's go to like a Raptors game, or let's go to a game. Like it's a constant battle between doing the right thing, being vulnerable with your kid, but then also like dealing with that guilt, that mom guilt. Yeah. That is just like deep rooted in us, I think.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know. I wasn't one of those that said, your dad's great. And like, don't, you know, like I didn't, you know, I said, your dad and I don't like each other at all.
Yeah.
I don't like your father at all.
Yeah.
And, but I would say, but that my relationship with him is separate from yours.
Yeah.
And my daughter she grew up with a healthy understanding of that. But you know, it was tough on my son. He does remember us being together.
Yeah.
And you know, he's the same gender child, right? So you want that figure in your life. Yeah. And you know, he had a sense of abandonment. Yeah. And I tried to fix it, and now I understand maybe it wasn't my job to fix that.
Right.
And you know, I've learned that it's not our jobs actually to make our kids' lives perfect.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. Actually.
Sometimes the suffering.
Yeah.
It's good for you, like even what you're sharing with your mom and with your uncle, and like obviously you don't want to wish hardships on people, but you can see like the refining work of hardships that happen in your life, right?
Yeah. And it's always like, it always asks the question, like, how do you create resiliency in privileged children? Because obviously we went through that experience of being, you know, a little bit poor, immigrants, working, and I can't recreate that for my children. I'm not going to intentionally make us
poor,
live in a motel room and live out of a rice cooker. But it's like, how do you create resiliency in privileged kids? Because I mean, all of our kids are privileged. I don't even mean financially. Nowadays, most of our kids are very comfortable and privileged, right? And the modern parenting is kids, you know, they get what they want and they're soothed and all these things. And it's like, you know, maybe I should have let my kids, I don't know, maybe Ethan saw too much, but maybe I should have said, you know, we did put him in therapy, and you know, there's a lot of things I look back on, but it's not how it happened. And you know, you really have to forgive yourself for those things, and give yourself grace, because
you do the best you can with
what
you have to do,
and
everyone goes through their path too, right? Like sometimes it can even seem like our kids are struggling and you're like, oh no, and then like even our past guest, I would say that, like she says that, like in her teen years, people are like, she's a lost cause. And then she eventually found her way. And you're like, okay, it happened. You never know, right? Like,
well, I think the biggest thing in maturing is when we realize about our, you know, especially if you didn't have a good relationship with your parents, is when you realize, first of all, that whatever way your parents parented you had nothing to do with you. But it's obviously when you're kids, that's just animalistic. Your parents are your life source. So you just think they should be perfect. Right? And even if you live in an abusive home, that's all you know. So you think your parents are perfect. And you know, whenever we all hit that age, and some of us, I swear, never do, but I remember when I did, and realizing, like, you know what, my mom's a broken person too. And the way she raised my sister and I, as much resentment as I had about it growing up, I actually understand now it had nothing to do with me. It's actually not because she didn't love me. It's just because maybe she didn't love herself enough.
So
and
good.
You know, and when you realize that about your parents, it can help you parent, and it can help you parent in the sense that you can learn to disconnect from your children. Because your kids aren't your own.
No.
You didn't pick them. Right? The only person you picked is your spouse and your friends. And it can help you disconnect. And actually say, you don't, and not blame yourself when your kids say, like, I don't like the way you did this. I'm like, that's how you feel about my parenting. Instead of feeling this need to like make it right and become your kid's friend, and you know, and
that's good advice.
And I'm not on a super close level with my son, which is hard. Obviously, I deeply love my son. But I would say I'm not sure that he knows that.
Right.
Which is where I feel like, I think maybe I failed him. But I understand now that's actually for him to figure out.
Right.
I can't prove that to him.
Yeah.
Because I do know I love him.
Yeah.
And at the time, the decision I made were the best that I thought.
That you thought. Yeah.
And so, but I've been able to let that go emotionally.
Right.
Instead of living in this mom guilt. And like, I know I love my son.
Yeah.
And I know that I want the best for him.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know he can get there because you did that, right? It's like you questioned if your
Yeah.
mom loved you at a point, and then you got to a point where you're like, no, she does love me.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the way that I would choose if I get first choice, but
Yeah.
she loves me in her own way that she's
I
able.
know. I actually look back now and think maybe I'm better off than some of my friends who had these really loving moms but didn't give them the experiences that I got to have. I mean, yes, I would have taken some of the hard, maybe like stuff.
Yeah.
Here and there.
Yeah, like some stuff I would have maybe removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually think I made out better. I think I have a resiliency that some of my peers who had a more traditional, softer upbringing didn't have. I don't have anxiety. I don't, because little things don't stress me out.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of got to go big for me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And even some of my kids, I see what they stress about. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like, you know, but I get it. They've had a really nice life.
Yeah.
Like, my kids have had a really nice, you know, for the most part, notwithstanding maybe Ethan and Brianna in that episode. But my younger two kids, I was like, your life isn't even real.
Yeah.
Like they, you know, they had two parents who love each other. They had such a nice upbringing. And I was like, you're gonna, the smallest things are probably gonna stress you out as adults because you've had no hardships.
Yeah.
And no chance to like grow
no chance
that
to grow.
Yeah. But
Wow.
but again, I'm not gonna hit them just so they can become tougher.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I don't know. It's I hope my son figures it out. And but I also understand if he doesn't, it's out of my hands now.
Yeah.
Because when they're adults, it's out of your hands.
Wow. You've given us some amazing advice. I love hearing from people that are a few years older that like have like adult children that I'm like, wow, like like what are some things that you've done right? What are some things that you feel like you haven't? Just because it is helpful for the generation behind. And I just think your story is so powerful, and I think everything you've shared, I'm just sitting here going, woo, this is like our second guest today. I'm feeling like I need to go home and have a nap. I'm emotional, but in like such a good way. Like I feel like, wow, like I'm so glad that we have the ability to do this podcast, to share these stories that can like help people. And I think everything you shared has just been amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to say that too. Like I something that I really like love and appreciate about you is I just the way that you like, even in this small glimpse that I have into you as a person, the way that you live your life, it really has impacted me, because I work with Erica and I just feel like you showed me this different way of almost like in a relationship where you're talking about like knowing what you don't want. Like it doesn't have to be like that. You are organized, you're communicative, you're so kind in the way you say anything, whether it's a correction or just general information. You're appreciative of your staff. Like you go like a few times a year, you're like giving people like little gifts and thank yous. I'm thinking, no, thank you for giving me a job. Why are you giving me a thank you? Like whatever has happened in your life and whatever, like somehow you've come to this place where you get it. Like you know how to treat people. You're kind. I hear that from everyone. Like anyone that knows you is just like, oh, Erica's
I'm
so
sure
great.
some people.
And I don't know. I'm
sure my
not
son
really
would say that.
I'll talk to your son. He'll be like, oh, let me tell you.
I don't know about my son.
But you know, I just think that you, whatever you've gone through in your life, however, whatever shaped you, like you got such a great balance of like you're driven.
The sunny side.
Totally, you have the sunny side. You're driven and motivated and hardworking, but you're kind and you know how to treat people really well. And that's one thing I'm realizing in this day and age. Not a lot of people know how to treat people like really well. So when you encounter it, it's just such like a value. To me, I'm like, it's a high value. Or like this is, I know it's like you see a good thing when you see it. You know? But
I love that. I learned that from my husband. My husband's wonderful. He's very honest and good. Yeah, he is goodness in human form.
I love that.
He has taught me so much.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nice to be in a relationship you can learn from.
Yeah.
Wow.
To your point.
And that's a
In
good,
any
I think that's
relationship.
good for our
Yeah.
podcast
Yes.
listeners, because sometimes it's
Yeah.
not always the sunny side.
It's
It's
true.
true. I don't
Yeah,
think she
yeah.
does like
So
a
this is
man-hating
good.
podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like the last two have been.
That's
Yeah,
true.
good.
And
I'm
last,
so
our
glad.
last guest we had earlier too, she was saying the similar thing about
Yeah.
her husband, like a good man. So
Guys, they do
they
exist.
do exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
You
just
know,
all married to Amy
He's,
and Erica.
yeah,
so.
he's so good, but like, you know, even if him and I were to split up tomorrow, I actually know I'd be okay.
Yeah.
And he has given me that confidence.
Right.
I've given it to myself as well, but like the relationship is actually so healthy that I know I could even live without it,
Right.
which is crazy because I would never want to, but I actually
Right.
know that I could.
Wow.
And that's like to me the healthiest kind of marriage, especially.
Yeah.
Is that like I'm like, yeah, like I'm just so allowed to be myself
Yourself.
and loved, and you know, there's so much freedom in our marriage. And I don't mean in that respect that people
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
freedom of thought, freedom of expression,
Yeah.
all these things, and it's very.
That's not something.
I mean, of course,
for
there's,
granted.
you know, nothing's always sunshine and
Perfect.
roses.
Yes.
But yeah, no, like there's definitely like a base root of respect
Wow.
and love, and looking in the same direction.
I love
And I
that.
feel glad for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you
you're
for
welcome.
sharing.
So
and
good.
coming
Thank you
on.
for
That's
having me.
So great.
It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't even know how to
Yeah.
end this one on this one because
Yeah.
it's just so.
I know.
It's good. So thank you for being here again.
Welcome.
And guys, hit the subscribe button, like, share, do all the things, and we will see you next time. Next time. See you on the side.